Hi boys and girls. So if you fly Falcon 4.33 or Falcon 4.34, otherwise known as BMS 4.33 and BMS 4.34 available at Benchmark Sims, and you would like to have the cockpit fuel flow indicator being streamed to an OLED display located in your desk cockpit, or if you're customizing and building cockpit, we're going to talk about how to do that today. There's a lot of different options out there. I chose Uriah's Pit build. I'm using his code for a Arduino DED or Arduino DUE. It's a duo. I'll show you how to do it. So let's get started. First thing you're going to want to do is go to arduino.cc, get this Arduino 1.8.12. Do not get the web editor. Just get the one that installs local to your computer. It'll run anywhere from Windows 8.1 to Windows 10. Download and install that. Again, arduino.cc/en/main/software. So go to software, downloads, there it is. So you can do a Google search for DEDUN or UINO, Uriah's Buzz Pit build blog. He's done all the work. The only problem with his blog is he doesn't really show you how to wire these things together. It doesn't show you how to import the code. This guy knows what he's doing. He kind of assumes everybody has a base of knowledge. I'm going to go step by step like I'm trying to teach a 6-year-old how to do it. So if you already know some of this stuff, bear with me. If you don't, it'll be a great learning experience for you. So anyway, once you're at his blog, you can read around about some of this stuff. We are using a monochrome 1.3 inch 128 by 64 OLED that goes along with this build. So not only do you need the Arduino software, and we'll come back and we'll get this stuff, but you need to buy this display. I use this display. It's a good display. It's the monochrome 1.3 128 by 64 OLED graphic display. You can get it from adafruit.com/products or product/938 up here. It comes with a pin header, so you're going to have to know how to solder. One thing I will tell you guys is when you solder this in, if you have a pit, think about how you're going to install it into your pit. This screen will separate from this board. There's a ribbon cable that attaches to the bottom of the screen, wraps around the back to here. So you can take a knife and you can run it down these edges and get this actual OLED to separate from the board. When that happens, you can lift the face of the screen up. So basically be like a 90 at that point, right? You'd have the screen here and your board going like that. So you might want to think about how you want to put your pin header in. Do you want the pins to stick out of the top of this board when you're done? Or do you want the pins to stick out of the back of the board when you're done, that your wires will be connecting to for your connectivity? Doesn't matter. You can solder it either way. It'll still work. Maybe you're just going to leave it alone and you're going to leave the screen on the board. Just give it a thought before you go soldering these things. Are you going to be running a knife back behind this thing, separating the board from the actual display? It's a pretty small display. You can see it's a little bit larger than a quarter, but it reads fine. So enough about the display for now. Let's get back to his download page. So let's go to the download page on GitHub. Once we're here, let's see. We want the source code zip. Uh-oh, you know what? I think we're getting the wrong thing. This is for the TQS adapter. we want the DEDuino. I just downloaded the wrong one. So we want to download the page on GitHub for the DEDuino. All right, source code, download. And there it is. That's went to my downloads folder. There it is right there. I actually did this earlier, but I screwed up the video, so I'm making another one. So just extract it. It's a zip file. Extract to the folder. When you're done, you'll have your folder of the DEDuino. Open it up. Here's your code. If you've already downloaded the IDE installer from Arduino's website, then to get the code to start running, all you got to do is double click this guy. It'll open up here. All right, so this will tell you to uncomment the define for the Arduino board in use. Board supplied by this version: Arduino Uno, Arduino Micro, Arduino Duo. All common config options are found in the config.h. So if you look up here, there'll be a bunch of tabs. Go to config.h, and this is where we'll do most of our configuring. So do not edit below this line without intent. We're not going to mess with anything down here. Okay. So I don't think there's anything for us there. Nothing for us here. Config.h. There are two ports on the Arduino Duo. There's a native port and there's a programming port. If, like me, you've got a ton of USB devices plugged into your computer, I've got like 25 to 30 devices plugged in, and some of them use Windows native USB drivers. Some of them have their own custom drivers. When you start getting a bunch of different custom drivers, there can be conflicts, and now you might wind up having to unplug your device and plug it into a different port until it finally is no longer in conflict with something else that's plugged in that same port. Like I've got two 11-port USB hubs. They're slap filled with USBs. So reading on his blog and some other places that I've read, that they have wound up having some driver conflict using the native port. Due to that, I comment this line so it won't be used, and I uncomment this line to use the Arduino Duo programming port. Define, let's see, module defines, uncomment the modules you want. Without this setting, nothing will work. Lights are going to be overhauled in version 1.2. So let's see, screens. We're not going to be using the DED. We are going to be using the fuel flow, so we'll leave it as is. PDF, we're not going to be, the PFD, we're not going to be using. We'll leave this alone. Okay, so I think we're good here. Sub-module configuration, uncomment the options you want to enable. We're going to use the Moon wide font. There is a wide variant, is more readable. Font My Allen Coolhand enabled by default, but we're going to turn off the wide font by putting two hash marks there, and we're going to make sure that Moon wide font is the one that is with no comments. So if you had these comments there, just delete the comments. The display that we're going to be using from the Adafruit is it's a SSD 1306. So we need to make sure that there's no comments in front of this line. We're not using this eBay display. Define the real FFI. Yep, so make sure that this is uncommented. Do not edit below this line without intent. So again, we're not going to do that. Okay, so that's pretty much all you have to do as far as the code. If there's some portions that you won't, if you wanted to use the native, you would uncomment these and comment this, and then that the programming would be for the native port. I use the programming port. That's what I'm going to do. So when we downloaded this, we're going to go into our sketch. We're going to include a library. We're going to go to add a zip library. Go to your downloads. Let's see, where's my downloads? My downloads. We're going to change this from zip files or folders to all files. Let's go and find where we extracted that guy. DEDuino 1.20. We want to go to the Arduino code, Arduino, libraries. Left click on that. We're going to do the zip because that's what we're doing. We're including a zip library, and we just hit open. Now it already exists. I've done this already. You haven't done it already, so you need to do it. Otherwise, if you try to compile the code, it's not going to work. So once we have put that in there, we can test our code, verify it by pressing this little check mark. If you didn't see what I did earlier, anyway, it was sketch, include library, add zip library, navigate to where that zip resides. If you don't change this right here, you'll try to go into a, well, it's letting me dive down. Earlier it wasn't doing that. Anyway, so we've included it. Let's go ahead and verify the code. Down here, it's compiling the sketch. Little status bar over here is letting us know the completion. Okay, it's done compiling, as we see right here. So now let's go back up to the tools, and the board that is selected is the Arduino Micro. You may not have this board already, so go to your boards manager, type in the Duo. You have to purchase this Arduino DUE board for this all to work. DUE, do a search. When you're done, I've already installed this one. If you haven't, press the install button, wait the 30 seconds or however long it's going to take to install, then your board will be available in the list. So mine's already installed. Close this, go to tools, go to the board, come down, find your board in the list. We are going to use the Arduino Duo. Again, it's got two ports, the native port and the programming port. I'm going to say programming port. Double check that. It is on the programming port. Okay, it's going to ask you for your port. Remember this port. Mine's on COM4. Whatever yours says, yours might be on COM3, might be on COM1, might be on COM5. But when we go to actually run this thing, the little program that's going to open up is going to ask you what COM port you're on. And if you don't remember what COM port that you're on, then it's not going to start. You're going to think that there's a problem. So make sure that mine's on COM4. So we're ready to go at this point. So now we can just upload all of our code, and it'll send it to our Arduino, and we'll be ready to go. I've already got the code in mind, so I'm not going to do that. I don't think that I've forgotten anything about how to tell you how to program this, so I think you're good. Okay, so we know that we have to have an Arduino Duo. We now know how to get the code onto the Duo, including the library, picking your board, and the COM port. If for some reason you can't remember what your COM was, your COM port, you can always go to your device manager, view your devices and printers, and then it should be listing your Arduino Duo COM 4. I've got a couple of Arduino Megas on COM 3 and COM 5 and some other stuff, but so anyway, you can always come back in here and figure it out. Now, let's go up to wiring this bad boy. Before we wire it, let's take one more look at this. Alright, it says bus default is 12C. The programming that we're using for this is SPI. So we have to change the bus from 12C to the SPI bus. It says to close J1 and J2. Right here's J1, here's J2. There is a small little piece of brass looking, copperish looking metal that connects this little square hunk of metal to this little square hunk of metal. Take a knife, X-Acto knife, kitchen knife, little tiny screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, knock that piece of metal out. Same thing for the one that connects this square to this square. Knock that little piece of metal out. It says for SPI to close J1/J2. It's a little deceiving. I wasted a board because I couldn't get it to work, so I soldered between these two, and I soldered between these two and never did work. It didn't matter what kind of solder removal tool or wick I had, I couldn't get the solder out between the two. It was ruined. I had to buy another one. After watching a video on Adafruit's website, this lady says, oh, if you want to change the SPI bus, you just break this little tab between the two jumpers at J1 and J2. And I was like, break it, but it says close it. Close it to me means you make a connection. Open it means you break it. So I don't know what's going on internally that's actually closing it, but you break the tabs. Ultimately, you have to break the tabs. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. So that takes care of that. Oh, where'd my little pictures go? There we go. Okay, so this is the Duo board. This little processor. Your USB connectors are over here. You've got 5 volts that goes to your VIN, and you've got the ground that goes to the ground. This is your VIN pin. This is your ground pin. So connect the 5 volts to VIN, connect the ground to ground. 9 and 7 will go to DC and cable select CS. So 9 to DC, 7 to CS. There's your CS, and there's your DC. You've got these little pins, there's 6 of them over here to the left of your processor. These 2 go to the reset and to the clock. So the top one goes to the reset, and then the center one goes to the clock. Reset right here, clock right here, CLK. And the center one on this side will go to data. Data. So you use all but one of these guys. You just won't use the 3 volts. And then that's it. I'll give you a little bit of time. You can screenshot this so that you'll have it, save it off, keep it. But that'll get you running. And then once you're done with all of this, so now we've compiled the code, we put the code onto the Duo. The DUI is hooked up to our computer using a USB cable. Everything's ready to go. Go back into your downloads folder, wherever you'd save that at, where we downloaded it from the Got the bit hub. Pit DEDuino. Go into the connector app. There's this little exe. When you run the exe, it's going to run this program right here. This will pop up. It'll say, do you want to, there's a new version available for download. Do you want to download it now? If you hit yes, it's going to uninstall this connector app. I don't know why this pops up. I didn't write the code. Don't get upset with me. Just always hit no. It'll pop up every single time you try to run it. Just hit no. Change your COM port to COM port 4, if that's what my COM port was. Whatever your COM port was, put it on that. Your Arduino Uno, enable if using the Arduino Micro or Duo using the native USB port. We are not, so we're going to have that unchecked. There's really nothing you need to do here on the back. Just, it's going to say Falcon BMS 4.32. We know that they've had Falcon BMS 4.33, and now we're all the way up to Falcon BMS 4.34. It works just fine. We'll leave this alone. Don't do nothing. There's nothing in here to do. About shows you nothing either. So, I mean, just hit start. And then for me, my beautiful fuel flow is working. But you can't see because I'm recording my screen on my computer. But if I wasn't, and if I was using a cell phone, I'd show you that indeed it is working just fine. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you have any questions, leave me a line down at the bottom of this video. My name is Draft. I fly with the 87th.org. We fly Saturday evenings at, well, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Drop me a line if you're wanting to fly. We'd love to have you in the air. I'll be doing more videos for other parts of the cockpit. So if you enjoy, please like. Feel free to subscribe. Have a great day.